Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to the build. We are now on part 19 of our Polar Lights 1350 Enterprise refit build, so let's get right to work.
Alright, so the first thing I want to do here is take our scratch-built hallways and start to populate these with some furnishings. For that, I have this right here. It's a nice 3D print of some tables, some smaller square tables, some longer dining tables. We have some couches for relaxation. Almost broke one off there. There we go. And some chairs. Bunch of chairs. I think I have enough chairs. These are just a little bit too big. They're about 30% too big to be exactly 1350. Miguel was kind enough to print these off for me. Miguel at DevilDog.games. And I'm not going to bug him for another one. I'm just going to use these. They're not so much out of scale that you'll really be able to tell, so I'm going to use these. I don't want to bug him for another one. These will be scaled down, and by the end of the build, maybe he'll print me off another one just to show off. So I'm going to take my tweezers and my little hobby knife here. I only have a standard tweezers. I'm not cool enough to have a modeling tweezers. So we're going to take those and a little bit of the old dollar store super glue. Start getting these in place. Now, the undersides of these, remember there's a deck on the bottom, will actually have to adhere anything to the secondary hull. But first I'm going to take care of these. So we'll be back with that.
Hey guys, just been doing a little bit of paint prep. I'm not anywhere near painting this yet. We're not to that stage. I just wanted to get this ready. See what I could do. Little fuzzies all over the top of this again. But I went in with 800 grit, sanded it off, wiped it down, wet sanded it with 800, and then did the same thing with 1000 where I sanded it and then wet sanded it with 1000, and I think you'll agree it looks pretty smooth. It is nice and silky smooth. Let's compare it to this. I haven't even touched the underside here. You can see the difference it makes to do your wet sanding. And before I paint this, I will of course take something like a Scotchgard or one of these guys, and I will rough the surface up again. Otherwise your paint will not adhere, especially not if you're touching it with your greasy hands like I am. But your paint won't adhere very well to this smooth surface. So we need to rough it up a little bit again, but that's okay. I've also been going back through these grid lines here and kind of re-scribing them, just making sure I got all the junk out of them. Just taking my toothpick, just doing this, just going around, just like this, kind of getting all the junk out of there. We want to keep these, so we don't want them to get bogged down. We don't want to get tons of layers of paint in these and they'll start to vanish, and then where will we be if we don't have our grid lines? See, just basic, going through like that. And you can kind of see the difference here. I've done them on this side, and I haven't done them on this side. You can see they look a little bit more soft on this side than they do on this side. They're a lot crisper and cleaner lines. So make sure to do that. Make sure to go over your grid lines. Kind of not really scribe them, but we're sort of scribing them or rescribing them. We're just trying to get some of that excess paint out of the recesses here. And that is that. For the real work today, what we're going to be doing is all underneath here. We've got all of our sections. We've got all of these done. We've got all our internal sections done. Let's show those off. So we've got all our furniture right there. Tables, chairs, and some couches. Put some couches in there. We have all of these guys done. Just a little bit of super glue and patience and some magnifiers and maybe a few choice words when things fly off into the nothingness. I've lost lots of chairs. Lots of little chairs are underneath my feet, and I'll probably step on them. But they're all done. Most of these are ready to go in. I don't have one for the rec deck because we're going to be putting in one of our 3D printed rec decks. We're going to be putting that in there. Still working on these guys, still in the prototype phase. We'll have them done before I'm even anywhere near ready needing them in the ship. Here is our thing of tables and chairs. Outside of resizing these, what I think I'm going to do is I think I'm going to take off about, because you're never going to need that many chairs. Even with all the ones I've lost, and I've probably lost 20 of these things down below where I'm sitting. Or the tables too. You're not going to need that many tables. What I'm going to do here is probably go from this line, either the 6th or the 8th line, and I'm going to put in those details, more details you'd see in the rec deck. Let's see if I can bring the big one over here, or the one I painted up. I painted this one and assembled it recently. This is our first attempt here at building a rec deck. But some of the details here, like some of the love seats, some of the, where's my toothpick? There are these neat little kind of triangle tables that are in the rec deck, like right here. Some cylinders, some hassocks that are along this little game in the middle. That's what I'm going to be making and putting on this final line here, or these final lines. I'm not sure how far up I'm going to go. But yeah, that's what I'm going to do with that. Rec deck, this. What else do we got? I think that's pretty much it for the interior parts. How I'm going to light this, though, is another story. I'm going to get my LED tape, and I'll be right back. Alright, so what we need to do is get some light into the top side of our sets. Meaning we need to put lights right about here. Our standard LEDs are just a little bit too big for that, and then a little bit too bright. So I've got this smaller size LED here, which you can see this strip awfully small. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run that wire right on the edge all the way around, or pretty much all the way around. Here's your rec deck. So I'm probably going to start up here, run it all the way around here. And that should be good enough for lighting the upper part. For the lower part, I think what I'm going to do is mount some lights on the opposite side, on the bottom there, in between these, and let that light cascade into the sides. I think that'll be the plan going forward. So I'm going to start to get my lights wired and into place, and I'll be back with that. Alright, now we have all our LEDs going around the perimeter of the hull, and if we turn this guy on, there we are, all the way up to 12 volts. So, let me grab one of our hallways and one of our window segments, flip this over and show you exactly what that looks like from the outside. Alright, now this is held together by tape and prayer, but that is kind of what it's going to look like. You can see there. Let's turn that down a little bit. Kind of blowing everything out. There we go. You can see our tables and our chairs and our back wall there. You can't really see beyond. Doesn't look like looks like the hallway goes on quite a ways. Yeah, that turned out great. So yeah, you can't see into the ship, you just see more hallway. That is nice. We'll have to adjust all this stuff, of course, but that's kind of what it looks like right now. But now what I want to do is get some of these lights that go around the perimeter done, like our flashers. I want to get our flashers in. Remember the two that go back here. I accidentally covered up this flasher down here with our LED strip. That's fine. It's just hot glued. I'll pop that up, install the LED, and then plop it back down. No big deal. But I need to get in these thrusters because this stuff is going to cover our thrusters. We want to really have access to that once we get everything in place. So I'm going to start to get in our ancillary lights here. And then we can start getting these into place, at least some of them. The impulse deck, I have that in primer right now, in light blocking. Bunch of black on it, a couple of coats on either side. I'm going to wait for that to dry. I'll pull that out and put it in place and see how it fits with these guys. I have heard that is a thing. So we're going to check that out. But first, lights. So I'm going to get my SMDs out and start installing those. I've got all the thrusters in and all our flashers. You can see the two up here and then the 1, 2, 3 there. Those are light blocked. I have those light blocked, but not the thrusters because the thrusters are just going to be connected to the mains. They're always going to be on. I also have our impulse deck in here. We'll talk about that in a second. But these lights all have resistors on them. We're going to take off those resistors. We don't need those because I have 3 more strips to go in here. I got a bunch of lights to go in here too, but I got 3 more main strips to go around here. I'm going to put a 6 strip here, a 6 strip here, and 1 across the back here. And those will be facing down and lighting up the windows around our sensor dome. And what I'm going to do is take our thrusters, since they're always on, and I'm going to splice those into those 3. And then those 3, of course, eventually will go out. I'm going to splice other lights into them, but they're going to go out. The strips, these LED strips, have resistors in them. So the power is going to go through those resistors and then get to the lights. So I shouldn't need all these little resistors. We'll just clip those and save them for later. Same thing with the flashers. I'm going to connect all those flashers together. And at the very end of that chain, we will have one of these little resistors. So we can get rid of all of these little guys. Impulse deck is in. That is glued in place. I've got the 2 front here masked off just because I'm going to do more painting on the front. Might as well just leave them there. I also have to do other work like a bunch of filling and sanding and stuff. So I'm just going to leave those on to avoid any paint getting in there. They're off on the back. What I will need to do now is build in a little light box here with a couple of red LEDs in it and some diffusion because I didn't sand the back of these down and diffuse them for some reason. I mean, it's kind of a little late. I don't want to pull that off. That's okay. I can just put some diffusion behind here. There's plenty of room back here. There's about that much room. So what I'm going to do with this, though, we've got the impulse crystal here, and we've got our amber and blue 5mm that goes in there. I'm just going to wire these to the amber side of that 5mm. So when the power goes to the amber side, it'll also go to the impulse engines. So we can save a couple of wires, 2 sets of wires, or 1 set of wire instead of 2 sets of wires going down to the neck. So that'll save us some time there. Still have to light up the bridge. What I think I'm going to do for the bridge, or BC deck rather, not the bridge, this worked very well here. So I think I'm just going to do that around the ceiling here, and that'll also light up my little officer's lounge as well. I can just do it around this perimeter here, and that should provide enough light for the BC deck and here. Still have to get a part for that, but the part that goes in here will go around the edge of here. It's got a cylinder in the middle that's cut out like this, so I can run all my wires from the bridge
down and you won't see them in any of these windows. So we'll get that and we'll see how that fits painted up. And now what I'm doing is I got all my parts for my sidewalls here. This has the kit part in it, and I won't be using the kit part for the glass. It slightly distorts what's behind it. You can kind of see my finger right there is a little bit distorted, and I don't like that. So I'm just going to take this clear stuff, clean it off, it's a little dirty, and we're going to use that, and we're going to take some canopy glue here, and we're going to glue our windows into places like this. The reason I connected this right now is because of these. There are fit issues. So you put that on there, that on there. We have our other side here, the rec deck side. That goes on, and that goes like that. As you can see, that is one heck of a gap. I can mitigate that a little bit by just pushing that down, but on that side you can see there's quite a bit of a hole. I think I'm going to try to fill the back side of that with resin so it's not too much of a pain to fill with putty. Also, the putty will just, you know, if there's nothing on the back side of that, it can just pop through there. So we're going to backfill that side and this side too. As you can see, it's the same issue. It's just mainly a big old hole in there. And that is lifting up that edge, but I think if I glue it, the glue will keep that down, and I can also push this down a little bit more. At least that's what I'm hoping. Otherwise, that's one heck of a gap in there. So now that all this is done, I can get to these. I can start putting my windows in place. I can start getting my little hallways, putting them into place. The one thing you got to watch for this part of the deck, if I can find them, there's two pieces here that are very specific. These pieces. They have that door that's on the side, and I believe that's on the port side, which is going to be this side. So you got to make sure, right, is it this side? It's upside down, so it's messing with my head. It's this side. So we got to make sure that these are the next ones to go in place after this one. So this will go here, and the half of the door is up in front. The other half of the door is on this piece here. That's going to be fun to putty and sand. So those will go like that. So I'm going to get to work on this, start getting my windows in place, start to get my hallways in place, and glue these where they should go. I've also noticed one other thing. When these things go in place to where they're supposed to go, the hull here, you can see that right there, that's a lip. So we're going to sand that puppy down quite a bit. These I haven't taken any material off of this. That's just where that goes. I guess you could adhere it closer, a little bit closer to the hole, line it up better on this end instead of pushing it in all the way. So I guess you could do that and kind of mitigate your seam work. So that'd probably be the best thing to do. But if it feels like these things, because that's pushed in all the way to that pin, and then you got the lip. So maybe we should just pull that back a hair, and we don't have to deal with that as much. Looks a little better, doesn't it? Yeah, it does. So I'm going to get to work on that. I'll be right back. Now we have all the walls and our interiors in place. This took about a day to do, an entire day, because I only have so many clamps. So I had to clamp 3 here and a clamp 3 here, and I let that dry. And then I do boom, boom, and then boom, boom. So I have to wait for them to dry. I waited a good 4 hours to make sure these things were good and dry. I had my interiors in. I took some hot glue and I went all around the back sides of these, and then I light blocked those just so we don't get any thing coming in from the, so you can't see anything coming in from the ceiling. That's not part of this band of LEDs here.
I'm going to have to do something similar for the bottom, but of course if the top and bottom are together, you can't really get to this piece here. So what I plan on doing is taking something that's a slick, a non-stick substance, and putting it like this, and then hot gluing the back side, and then peeling that off. So hopefully I'll have a straight back side, a little lip of hot glue, and then I can just paint that black. That's an idea I have. So all these are done. We are going to take a look at these in a second. Let's go over this. Unfortunately, when these were drying, some of these kicked out. These sensor lines, these sensor bands, they're gone. They're going. Hasta la vista. There's no way I could keep those because this is all well and good. This isn't bad. This isn't a bad seam. I actually put some adhesive in here to kind of take care of it. But there is a lip. You can see it kicked out on the bottom here, kicked out on the top. I'm going to have to make that equal and square that off. And for that, I'm going to have to do a lot of sanding. So we're going to lose all of our sensor bands. That's not bad. That's not too bad. Actually, that's probably the best one. Yeah, that's almost flush there. And then that's nice. Not too bad there. That's nice. Not too bad there. And then we get to this. You see that? Yeah, that's bad. I'm going to put epoxy in this, and pretty much going to have to recarve this door and these. So yeah, epoxy, and then putty over that, sand it, get that nice and smooth. This one's not too bad either. It's just, of course, on the one detail that you need is the huge seam. Everything else is pretty okay. Still got that gap I have to fill. This actually didn't turn out too bad. I glued it from the back, and yeah, that's not too bad. The other side, wherever this thing is going to be a similar deal with how this is going to fit in. You can see that fits in right there. That seam shouldn't be so bad. But again, we'll try to do the same thing we did on this side and glue that down there. And then just have to fill the back side of that. Hopefully this lines up with the neck. Hopefully. And I'm hoping all this lines up with the bottom too. Like the tops of these. I'm hoping that lines up with the bottom. You can see this kicks up. So I'm probably going to have to sand these flat here. That's not a big deal. I got a nice big file for that. So I am going to get this flipped over, and we're going to plug in our wires, and we're going to see what the lights look like in the windows. I haven't seen this yet, so first time for me and you. So I'll be back with that. Alright guys, here we go. Let's turn these on. Wow. Let's turn them down just a little bit because of the camera. Whoop. There we go. Look at that. You can even see the tables and chairs. I can see them individually. There you go. Tables, chairs, all that sorts of stuff. We got some light leaking up above here. No, it's kind of lighting up my thrusters too. It's hard to tell. There's light coming through these thrusters. I got these. I can see my tables and chairs in there. That hallway worked out. I think the big table's in that one. Oh, you can see the thrusters right there now. See? Light them up. There we go. About the level of light I would want on here. Just nice and even lighting. There's a chair right there. My camera hates to focus on everything, but you know. And then there's the last set of windows there. So yeah, that actually turned out really good. So yeah, that'd be a nice level of lighting to have right there. This is at 12 volts right there. That's the max. Maybe that's a little bright. Maybe we will do this through 9 volts. 9 volts about there. Yeah, 9 volts would be pretty good. So yeah, there's a look inside. See what they all look like. Hey guys, that's where we're going to call it for this week. Next time, we're going to be working on the rest of the lights in the saucer. We're getting these 3 lights in here, tying everything together and tidying this up, doing our impulse engine and our crystal, the light for our crystal. Maybe not the crystal itself. We'll have to see. I think the part goes in from the bottom. We'll have to check that out. So if we have time, we'll be working on the bridge and the sensor dome. Lots of stuff to do to the bridge. Hopefully get that BC deck started, at least the lights installed. So until then, I want to thank everyone for watching. I want to thank all my old subs, all my new subs. You guys are equally awesome. And until next time, you guys take care.